Hey everybody, Sharon here from VidGamiac.com. Welcome to part 12 of our walkthrough of Genesis Noir, where we are going for another achievement using the dev console. Make sure you plug in that USB keyboard on the title menu. Make sure you hit Control-Shift-L at the same time. That should give you access to the dev menu, which is going to feature the level select. Make sure you pick that. We are going to load up the level Free Will. You want to make sure you go to select checkpoints, and unfortunately none of the checkpoints are going to be super useful, so we're just going to have to pick the level start feature. So make sure you load that up, and unfortunately we're going to have to play through the whole level, and unfortunately, in addition to that, this is going to be one of the more involved levels in the game, so try to bear with us as we get through this the best we can. So once the level loads up, make sure you hit that left bumper to start your fast forward. Once you get into the game, you're going to click on your hand until it disintegrates, and then you're going to get some more cutscenes. Again, feel free to fast forward through all this stuff. Make sure you head to the right. You're going to get to this golden statue. Make sure you keep clicking on it until it advances to the next cutscene, and just fast forward through that as well. Once you are done with the statue, you're going to warp into this thing and then get some more cutscene stuff. For this part, all you have to do is just make sure you keep clicking on the dialogue boxes. Pretty simple. Keep your fast forward on, of course, to get through this super duper quickly. But every time a text box appears, you're just going to click on it. So just make sure you take care of that. Once you get to the part where you have these flower petals right here and they drop to the ground, you're going to have to play the next puzzle. It's going to be very important that you turn off the fast forward here, as this puzzle can mess up if you leave it on. Now, with the fast forward off, you're going to click and drag the pile of flowers at your feet until you get a nice big clump. Then make sure you drag these to your character's missing arm, and you're basically going to build him a new arm out of flowers. Then you're going to get back to the cutscenes. Feel free to fast forward again until you get control of your character right here in this very abstract dance scene. So the first thing we have to do is we have to fly over to this giant circle on our left. It's basically going to be this giant clock right here. You need to make sure you fly and then light up all of the notches right here until the complete clock face is glowing gold. Once you have that, you should get another little cutscene right here. Again, feel free to fast forward through that. But once you do get control of your characters again, you're going to want to fly over to the left. You're going to have this gold circle right here. Make sure you dance around this, so just make sure you keep spinning in a circle around the exterior of the circle, and eventually it should fill out, leading you to this next moment. So you're going to get to this. You're going to need to turn off the fast forward as we have some puzzle stuff to do. You're going to want to clear all the foliage in a nice big circle, so just keep spinning the stick in a spiral, and then once you get the cutscene, feel free to fast forward through this little dance number. Once that's finally out of the way, you're going to want to fly up, and then we have another circle right here. Fly inside until it glows, and then just make sure you dance around it by dragging your two characters and constantly circle it until the game actually lets you proceed on to the next puzzle. So just make sure you zoom on in, and then you can fast forward through the introduction bit if you don't want to sit through this. You're going to have a jigsaw puzzle as this puzzle. It's pretty simple. Just make sure you put the pieces in the right places. Very easy. So you should be able to figure this out since it's only a handful of pieces or so, and the pieces themselves are going to be humongous, and you don't have to spin them or anything. They're going to go in one way. So once you complete that, we're going to have another dance number, which again, feel free to fast forward through if you don't want to sit through this. Once that's over, we're going to fly up and to the right, dance around the next circle, and then we're going to start the next puzzle. So this one's basically going to play like the game Simon, where you have this character who's going to do an action, and you're supposed to repeat it by pressing these buttons. For the first sequence, you want to make sure you press the second one and then the fourth one. Then for the second sequence, what you want to do is make sure you do 2, 4, 3. And then finally, for the third and final sequence, you're going to do 2, 4, 3, 1. They're never going to change, so you don't have to mirror him. Just do it in this order, and you shouldn't get lost. So in case you aren't so good at remembering short sequences, you have that to take advantage of. So make sure you have that laid out exactly how we have it, and then you should be good for the next dance sequence. Again, feel free to fast forward through this nonsense, and then once you get control of your characters again, we're going to fly up and to the right, and then we have another circle that we have to dance around. So light it up, and then just make sure you spin around in circles until you get on inside, and then onward and upward to the next puzzle. So once you load in, you're going to get another puzzle, which is going to be a nice little throwback to the Mars level. Very simple. All you have to do is just make sure you grab the bottom slider, move that all the way to the right, and then the top slider is going to go in the middle, aka the fifth square over from either side. Once you have those in the correct position, the button's going to light up. All you have to do is just press it, and then we should be good for another needlessly long dance scene. Again, feel free to fast forward through that if you don't want to sit through it. And then back in control of your character, you're going to slide down, and basically you're going to light up all of the remaining gauges on all of the different clock faces. So whenever you see a gray shape, just make sure you fly over it, and then just make sure you light it up as well as all of its adjacent counterparts. then all you have to do is just make sure you do that for every single one of them. There should be a fair amount, so be a little patient with this one, but just try your best to fly around and then just fill up everything with some nice golden lights, and eventually you should be complete with this segment. Try to be as thorough as you can. Missing one is going to really suck, so just make sure you try to go for the big ones, and don't forget the small ones in between the big ones. And of course, once this is all said and done, we should be done with this very abstract, confusing part of the game that's going to be needless and tedious. So as you can see right here, there are going to be some small ones that are very easy to miss. Make sure you don't miss those. So make sure you stay super duper vigilant and then try to be super duper thorough. Once you finally get all of them lit up, you should be good for another cutscene. I'm going to highly recommend you fast forward through these. Whenever you get to a cursor bit, just make sure you click on whatever is on the middle of the screen, and we're basically going to get this super duper long dance segment. Once all of that is finally over and you're back in control of your character right here, make sure you use the cursor to click on this bundle of colors up top, and then that should zoom in to that. Then we're going to have more cutscene stuff that we're going to fast forward through. You're going to eventually arrive at this doorway. Once you are in control of your character, make sure you click on the doorway, and then make sure you hold up to actually go through said doorway. You're going to get another cutscene. Again, feel free to fast forward through this, and eventually you're going to be at this nice park bench right here. Once you are at said bench, you are going to want to keep fast forwarding until you get the cursor back. You're going to want to grab either side of the screen, and you're going to spin the perspective until you are behind the bench. And from the view behind the bench, you should have these 4 colored doorways, each of which is going to have its own puzzle, which we are going to have to do. So for simplicity's sake, we're going to start with the leftmost one and then just work our way over to the right. So to start, all you have to do is just make sure you click on the appropriate doorway, and then just make sure you head on inside and make sure you take care of each respective puzzle that is behind said doorway. You can fast forward through all the transition bits, and then basically the puzzles are going to start with these 3 colored objects. Again, you can get this done in any order you want, but make sure you just click on one of them, and then you're going to have to zoom in. Again, you can fast forward with left bumper, but once you get to the end of these, you should have a clickable object. Just click on the object, and that should clear that third of the room, and then just do that for the other 2. And then once you clear all 3 bits, that should wrap up the room, and you should zoom out back to the bench, and then just do that for all 4 rooms. So pretty simple, and this one's going to go by super quickly thanks to the fast forward. If you aren't using the fast forward, this part is going to be very slow, so make sure you do keep that in mind. Always take advantage of the fast forward in this part. So just make sure you get through this, and make sure you get through every single object. So there's going to be 3 per room, 4 rooms total for a total of 12 times you have to do this. So just make sure you sit through the nice colored light show, and then once this one's out of the way, we can finally move on. There aren't going to be any draggable elements in these, so we don't have to worry about the fast forwarding messing up the game or anything. Just make sure you are quick to use them, and just make sure you're quick to click, get in, get out, and then quickly wrap up all 4 rooms. As soon as the 4th room is over, you should quickly move on to the next part right away. So here we are on the last part, getting all 3/3 again. Just fast forwarding through all of the tunneling segments, and then once we get our last one, we're going to be kicked back to the bench. Your character is going to whip out his watch, and to get past this segment, all you have to do is just hold down to zoom out. You're going to keep zooming out until the game stops you. You could speed this up by fast forwarding, of course. And then once you get back to this clock repair area, we're going to do the inverse. Click on the clock in the background and then hold up to zoom in. Again, feel free to fast forward through this. Once we're back at the bench, we have one last cutscene. Fast forward through this the best you can, and then once you are here, you should pull out your hand, click on that familiar spiral to finally end the most complicated chapter of the playthrough, and we should be good for the respective chapter's achievement. 70 gamer score for this one. We're going to have one last part to go in order to get the 2 ending achievements, so make sure you stay tuned for those. But that's going to wrap it up for now, and that's all there is to it.